Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to another episode of the Goodcast Show. That's right, we are back after taking a short hiatus. We are back now to discuss many issues. And today we'll be discussing a very hot topic, the Sri Pathrakaliamman Temple in Jalan Masjid India. Now, many people have shared many comments about it, many thoughts about it. It's been polarizing, it's been entertaining, it's been worrying even at some point. So today in this discussion, I welcome back a former guest. This will be his third time on the podcast. He's the lawman and he's here today to shed some light on land laws, particularly in the case of temples. And let's dive into this issue to understand who's right, who's wrong, what's the legal provisions that exist to govern these matters. So many questions and we can't wait for his answers. Please welcome the amazing, the maverick, Mr. Balasubrameniam. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
I like that opening. Yeah,
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here again. Now, let's get into this, right? Now, when it comes to working with temples, you've worked in many temple cases before, and I think before this, you were just sharing you have a few more upcoming, so you're a very busy man when it comes to temple issues. Now, in your experience, what is the primary reason why temples are asked to relocate or even considered to be demolished?
It's simple. It's nothing to do with the shrine. It's about the occupancy of the land itself. You see, a temple has to be built, constructed in a land that has been reserved for temples, specifically by the state. You can't just build the temple around as you like. That's what's happening. And then when the landowner claims, that's where the entire fiasco starts. And it goes into a serious disputes up to the involvement of public, of not knowing the structure and the framework of Malaysian National Land Code.
Okay. Does the law differ when it comes to land rights pertaining to temples or houses of worship as opposed to, general structures or buildings?
You see, to be very honest, the Chinese temples, they don't have the problems like the Hindu temples. I'm not blaming them for anything. The problem is all these temples, I'm talking about the new one that mushroomed lately, but the one which has been there for centuries, they don't have that problem because they have acquired the land properly through legal means. Even if you don't have a legal ownership, you can apply to the government through land reservations. That's under Section 62 of National Land Code. You can apply for it. And the state government may consider, or sometimes if the temple has already been there, and they have kind of like devotees visiting the temple, and it's quite a reputable worship place, they may consider. I think we have never had any temple issues being demolished. We have never had a state. It's only those people are ignorant of the legal provisions applying into temple situated on certain lands. Also about some those little Napoleons who think that the temple is something that they can just trespass and do things. Otherwise, I don't think so. The state authority have done anything to the temples except for when it's been illegally constructed. When I say illegally, it's not the temple illegal. The way they use the land. The land must be designated for its purpose, either for commercial use, housing development, industry, and so forth, and also for, temple, including petrol stations.
Now, interesting, you say that about the state demolishing temples. So that means that in the past, ever since I was a kid, I have seen all these issues. It props up, year to year almost. So all those bulldozers that we see, are those the state apparatus or is it private companies that own certain lands that are removing temples from their lands?
It's actually the private owner of the land. Sometimes could be developer. They want to develop the land. When proper notice has been given to evacuate that particular land, when those people who actually constructed the temple refuse to do so, then it will be illegal occupancy of the land. That's where the developers will ask for the authorities' assistance. They will, barge into the land to evict them forcibly, no choice, because the temple owner has all the rights to do so. Here, I would like to talk about adverse possessions.
Okay.
This comes under Section 321 of National Land Code. By you sitting on somebody's land for centuries, you don't become an owner of the land.
Okay.
You have to acquire. The land must be alienated to you by the state government. That comes under Section 48 of National Land Code. You must apply for it. In Malay, in Bahasa Malaysia version, they call it tanah itu perlu dikurniakan.
Okay. And is that falls under the state government, not the local municipal?
No, state government. When it comes to land, it's only state government. The construction of the building will be subject to, the municipality. They have a departments called Jabatan Perancang Bandar, Jabatan Kawalan Bangunan. It all comes under this. You have to be licensed.
So in this case, when we're talking about the Sri Pathrakaliamman Temple, DBKL is not in charge of designating the land for the temple. It was the state government.
No, the land belongs to DBKL.
Okay.
So they are the landowner.
Okay. They are the landowner. All right.
Okay. So that means they have acquired from the state.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. For Wilayah Persekutuan, for federal territory, they have a director of land mines and land and mines. So they are the one who decide to whom they want to alienate a particular land. It's a state powers. It cannot be questioned.
All right. You shared an article with me a few days back. And for those watching, sometimes me and Balan have late night calls discussing issues. So this is how this interview actually came about. Now, the title of the article, it was when Sina Harian, title called Pemilik Tanah Berhak Ambil Tindakan Terhadap Penceroboh. Now, when I read this article, it was pretty clear that the writers took a very direct, simplistic interpretation of the law, and it was pretty much common sense law when I was reading it. It wasn't anything out of the nonsense, where you can, stop someone from entering your land, etc., etc. The article is there. But before we get into the article per se, many out there are labeling this case, in this case, as a simple case of a structure built on another's land. Right, that is the you could say majority of some people out there believe this. So, as an overview, is the case of the Sri Pathrakaliamman Temple that simple?
It's complex now.
It's complex now.
Yeah, it's complex
How
now.
so?
You see, there's two versions. One version saying that the temple has it has existed since 1894. Another version says somewhere around early 2000 or 2004.
2004, yeah.
All right?
2008, I think.
Or 2008.
Yeah,
Let it be. But you have to understand, it's interim relocations if it was to be from 2000 onwards. But if it's from 1894, that means they've been there for centuries. Correct? So how would they have existed without the knowledge of the KL City Hall or the landowner? Someone must have actually consented, isn't it? All right? I don't want to go into very detail. That's a very,
murky.
Murky. I don't want to create any sensitive issue here. All right? So, anyway, a lot of people who are actually making comments about this, they don't have any, I'm talking about the layman and the common man on the street making a lot of things. This is nothing to do with religious affairs, racial or whatever. This is purely on land ownership. Okay? Sad to say, it involving a temple or shrine.
Okay.
That's the issue now. Okay? So, to call, back to the article that you refer, to call these people as a trespasser, I think it's not justified in the given situation. Because if we come to the second scenario, it was relocated there. At that point of time, the landowner was DBKL. They have actually consented to relocate them on an interim basis, temporary, so they cannot be a trespass. So and then there's no notices given up to recent event that they have to evacuate the place. So how can you call them trespass? So you don't interpret law on a plain reading. You have to know whether they really trespass the land without the knowledge of the owner. I'm talking about the original owner. Now, if JAKEL is claiming ownership, it's basically they are the owner.
They are the owner.
Because in Malaysia, is everything, ownership is by title. they call it IDT, issued document of title. If you are the owner of the land, you must have the IDT. We call it the mirror concept. The same IDT should be reflected in the land office. Then you can't challenge. The title cannot be defeated. All right? So here, I would say that they didn't trespass. Only thing, at the moment, they have to pave way for the legal owner to use and enjoy the land as what he wishes for. We can't stop that.
Now, in your experience again, what are the differences between the cases you have handled as compared to this case?
All those land is actually no man's land. They occupy that land. All of a sudden,
when you say no man's land, what do you mean?
It belongs to the state.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't belong to any private owner. Okay. The thing is, a third party from nowhere wants to acquire the land by creating a false trust deed, deceiving the authorities, saying that they've been there for some time, but from time memorial or whatever, those people have been there. I mean, anyway, we can't be there for time memorial because you know how we came by, through migrations from other part of the world. So that's the case which I have handled, and successfully I've gotten. What happened was they applied for land reservation, and they got it. So this, at the moment, in this current scenario, they can't apply for land reservations because it's already been alienated to a new owner, and their title cannot be defeated.
I just want to sort of discuss this and sort of puncture, if we have to, this whole perception. This issue is being made, of course, it is heavily being turned into a racial and issue, but it's also being politicized, right? I just want to get your thoughts because you are experienced in this. How accommodative are the state governments when it comes to designate the area for a temple?
Well, this is policy matters. I'm not in a position to comment.
No, I understand. But in your experience working with them, do you feel that they are open to it? There's not much issue, or are they reserved? I mean, what is their attitude towards reserving land for temples?
I don't think so. There's any land being reserved for temple purpose anymore. I think we have enough temples, actually, to be very honest. And it's all, you see, you have to go back to basic true history. When the migration took place, for congregation, temples were built for worshipping. Is actually to create, a kind of like spiritual inclinations for moral standing, and then the people were all over the place. Especially they were in estates, some of them in urbans. So the temple was constructed, built then, and as the community grows, the society grows, more temples were coming in. But now you tell me it's enough. We can't be building, more temples because number one, let me give you a little bit of background.
Sure.
Those days, our government quarters is full by, the Indians because they were in civil service at one point in time. They need temples. They were there. Now the government quarters has been demolished. Those people who were staying there moved away, but the temple is still there. And the authorities never relocate the temple. It's left, been there. There are many temples in Jalan Cochrane, Kampung Pandan, it's there. The government didn't. But the only problem is new temples, if you want to build it, it has to be for community. There must be residential. You have to ask what is the populations. You can't build for 10 people, 20 people. It has to be, the congregation must be, there must be a populations. So that all this has been taken into consideration by policy matters. Okay, but if you have a new township being built, that only future will tell you. We got Cyberjaya, we got Putrajaya, and I think the government policy, they still maintain the unity, the freedom of religion, the diversity part of it. I think on the balance scale, if the reasoning is good, I think it will be allowed. But again, I'm saying it has to be supported by data. How many of them going to frequent the temple? Or do you really need a worship place? And what is the closest place with another temple? Because some temples are really abandoned without any devotees visiting the place, because there's a new township developed, and it became an urban development.
Okay.
I like to say this: we don't build this kind of place in metropolitan town already. It has to be outskirt. Even if in the metropolitan center, you have to see what is the populations of particular race with a particular faith and religion need that temple or the urban mosque. Now, but we confine to temple here. So that's a policy matters which government will assess from time to time.
Understand. Now, when a temple is built before independence or pre-Merdeka, as this temple is, does it receive different protection from the law as opposed to temples that are built post-Merdeka?
I think post-Merdeka, things have changed a lot. I think under the urban development, things a bit slow though, but the state government never deny the rights. We can take one good example is Seafield, the temple. In fact, the issue went right up to, I think, the apex court. It was decided the temple be allowed to be there. It's all stemmed from the legal point that the founder of the temple don't have the right legally to the land. They build as they like, and the temple grow big. At one time, when not knowing to anyone, when the land is being sold, that's when the problem brew to what we are facing today at the moment.
For one, I mean, in this issue, it's a bit special because for one reason or another, many lawyers are getting involved. You are the latest, lawyers for liberty. Many lawyers.
Now exclude me from that. Exclude me from that.
You are just on a podcast here, not lawyer. No, but lawyers are getting involved. But anyway, the most recent is an article in Merdeka Times by Aidil Khalid, a lawyer who said this. He said, daripada 523 kuil Hindu yang dibina di negeri itu, he's referring to Kedah, hanya 25 didirikan betul di atas tanah milik kuil sendiri, manakala baki lagi 498 kuil bukan dibina di atas tanah sendiri. I think we were discussing this earlier. Now, I'm curious that in such a case, when you have a vast majority of temples that are not built on land that they own, what are the factors that are considered by the state or by the municipal to ascertain whether this temple should be allowed to remain, should be relocated, or should be demolished?
That's based on the given situation, based on the reasoning and the need of the temple to be there. It's all the state discretionary powers, whether they want to allow it. But if there's two ways of actually to acquire land to build your temple as you wish for. Number one, you acquire land by private purchase. Number two, you apply for land reservations. As I told you under Section 62 of National Land Code, you can build. But if those people don't have a title or legal ownership to the land and build the temple, I think then you have to face the consequences, the legal repercussions. Face on it, because you have to consult the lawyers or someone who's familiar with these kind of procedures before you build. The temple first will start a bit small with a hard kind of thing, then it move to a single story, then it'll become bigger. So don't see throughout this process, it doesn't tweak your mind to apply the proper legal procedure to acquire the land and do it properly. Why you wait till to these situations? And I'm not telling anyone. I'm just talking about from a legal perspective. Why we want to do this and go through this kind of problem, serious problem. You were saying that lawyers are getting involved. I think the lawyers are talking about equity. Leave the law aside. We talk about equity. Can we bring down the temple? And people are calling the temple is illegal. I think that's wrong to say that.
No, interesting you say that because, as you said, people are calling the temple illegal, but Considering that it was established pre-Merdeka with an age of over 100 years, can we still call it illegal?
You see, if any monuments, any shrine or any temple, if it surpasses 100 years, it becomes an heritage building.
Oh.
Yeah, you can actually apply to be gazetted for something. There's a process to it. Okay, so if it's pre-Merdeka, I don't think so. They face such a problem. It's only the post-Merdeka.
That's a very interesting point, because now it makes sense why there was, I forgot his name. I think his name is Vaidyanathan. He's the former president of Hindu Sangam.
Okay.
He said in an article that was published in Malaysia Kini that the temple was not moved. It just ceded a few, I think he said 1 or 2 meters for the purpose of the I think it was a car park or the road or development. Does it matter? Does it count? Say, for example, a temple is built in location A. Even if it's located 10 meters to a different location, does the year of the temple then based on the time it was moved, or is it from the start?
No, the founding year still remain the same.
Okay. Then
the founding year is still the same. Okay. The only thing, the relocations changes its structure.
Okay.
Okay. So back to your, going back to your question, I think I've answered clearly. Is a founding year. That matters.
Fair enough. The temple had received DBKL approvals for renovations. It received electricity and water. It also had successfully received approval from DBKL to have DBKL workers clean the front area of the temple, the area surrounding. He cited these examples as a way to affirm that the temple was a legal structure, saying that how could it receive electricity and power? How could DBKL authorize its workers to clean up the temple if it was an illegal structure? Do these facts support a legitimacy of a structure like this temple?
That is why I'm saying those arguments that he has put forward can come into play the law defeats these people, but equity will prevail. It will support them with all the reasoning that you just mentioned. It will help them to show that they have been there for so long, and there's a word we call in law acquiescence. You have actually allowed the temple to be there, and then what raises me, there's no obligation for DBKL to offer the land to the temple to buy. Okay, the temple, the committee, whoever owns the temple, should have taken a serious effort to acquire the land through reservations or private sale. But you have to understand, it's in the heart of the town, It's very expensive. It's very close to Cap Square. Very, very close to the other side is Sogo. It's a gold mine, actually. All right? Okay. Probably the affordability to purchase the land is an issue, but it never taught to those people. I would say they are laymen. We can't put a legal burden on them to understand all this mechanism. So probably the what Dato' Saravanan said may be considered if it goes to court to challenge the sale.
Wow.
Yeah, it may be considered. Okay.
Wow, so this issue can be taken to court.
Yes. But adverse possessions, this is called adverse possessions. They've been saying they're claiming that nobody, taken the land, and I've built the temple for so long. I want to own the place, to own the land. It doesn't work in Malaysia. Malaysia doesn't recognize adverse possessions. Okay. We have another word to say. It's very hard. I'm not saying in this temple perspective or in these temple issues. If anyone else occupy another man's land and if he asks to leave, we call it squatter simpliciter. He has to leave the place because he has no legal right to occupy the land illegally. The state can take an action, or even the owner of the land can take actions with the sanction of the land. The state authority under Section 425 to evict a squatter. But in this case, this is simple. I think very, very
sensitive.
It's not very sensitive. I think there must be amicable solutions be reached through ADR, alternate dispute resolutions. There must be some win-win situations. From the way that is going on, I'm afraid, because if it's not tackled properly, it will, it'll burst into a different issues.
Exactly. Just to quote another lawyer who's also in this fray, her name is Bavani KS. She's among the leaders of Party Socialist Malaysia. So she recently shared on a Facebook page, caption. I mean, she wrote a long post about questioning DBKL on the temple, the sale of the land, and all these. There were many questions, but she finished it with this, and I want to get your opinion on this. She said, kuil yang dikatakan berusia 130 tahun bermaksud penghuni terawal yang telah berada di tanah tersebut dan mempunyai legal entry. Consent by conduct, di mana pihak berkuasa membenarkan kuil tersebut berada di tanah tersebut selama ini merupakan satu, as you mentioned, acquiescence atau kebenaran. Based on the law of the land, is she right?
Well, we have torrent system. Torrent system, is a land system that we adopt from Australia, whereby it's all by registration. If your name is not registered in the register book of, as I told you, IDT, issued document title land office, you can bring anything. Law will never assist you. It's the equity that will render it will extend its end to help you. Probably that can be considered, but now since the land has been sold to JAKEL, JAKEL is a bona fide purchaser for considerations, and they are without any notice, because you have to understand, when the land was sold to JAKEL, there's something that is very important. No one has actually entered any form of interest in the land, either caveat or whatsoever. Nothing has been entered.
So what do you mean by that?
I mean, if you think that you have an interest in the land, you can lodge a caveat into the land and say to the world, look here, I have an interest in the land. Okay. So if you're occupying the land from...
Obviously, you have an interest.
You have an interest.
Yeah.
And your temple is growing big, right? You should have lodged a caveat. Your temple, you can't lodge a caveat in government's land, because DBKL is actually, even though it's a town council, municipality, is within the federal territory. It comes under the federal government. You can't lodge a caveat. You must have a caveatable interest. Okay? But you must actually...
What does that mean?
You have to show that, look here, you can't transact the land you can't deal in the land without getting my consent.
Okay.
That's called caveat.
Okay.
You have an interest. All right? So when JAKEL wanted to buy from DBKL, the land is clean slate in the title at the land office. No encumbrances, no caveats. So the dealing has taken place. The sale transaction has taken place. But on physical visit, you will show that there's a temple on it.
Exactly.
So again, we have to raise what went wrong. That one, let the authority handle. I don't want to go into it.
Now let's get to the opposition and all the opposition in terms of all the opinions that have come out from many community and political thought leaders. So one of them is Mr. Sudan, who is the head of communications of MIPP, Malaysian Indian People's Party. So he posted a video on his TikTok, and he has repeatedly asked for those who were in the Majlis Lembaga Penasihat DBKL to speak up on why the land was not gazetted in 2012, when apparently, according to him, the temple committee had applied for the gazettement.
No, the gazette comes when you have interest in the land by reservation. If the land has been reserved for the temple, then the gazette will come in. If the land has not been reserved, how the gazette can come in? On what basis you want to gazette the land for what? The reservations must come in the first place. Or otherwise, some form of formal application should have been submitted to DBKL. Look here, we have a temple here. We want to, occupy it, reserve it. Make an application. There was no application submitted. I think there was a lapse of mind. Somebody forgotten about it.
When DBKL awards someone this title, this reservation, how long is this reservation for?
That is administrative process. It goes through various channels, Land and Mines Department, DBKL departments. Within DBKL, they have departments, surveyor, land surveyor, a lot of things. It will take minimum 6 to 1 year.
6 months to 1 year.
Minimum
once
1
you
year.
receive that say for example it's approved, you decide
Then the gazette will come in.
So for how long will the land be yours? Is it indefinitely or?
How long it's been reserved? 70 years?
Wow. Okay.
It's the land, if it's reserved land, it won't be given to you in perpetual.
Okay. There will be a
It's
time limit.
Time limit. It will be
Okay.
time limit.
Now, again, I want to highlight because I have heard some murmurings online where people are not really highlighting the temple committee, but they're talking about the people who are in DBKL, people who are in the government structure before, and all that stuff, right? Now, the question to reserve this land, is that the responsibility of the temple committee or is that the responsibility of DBKL? Who
The temple committee.
temple committee?
They should have applied. Because
Okay.
they should have applied for reservation. Proper application must be submitted. So, as I told you, they are laymen. They probably don't understand the mechanism, the dynamics about it. Probably they are so much into worshipping, they forgot the legal implication later part of it. And to me, let me stress this: this is not a religious matter.
Yeah, definitely, it's not.
Nothing to do with race. This is not about that race and this race or vice versa. Those who are commenting all those things, please stop it once for all. Let the town council, DBKL, as a previous landowner, JAKEL, the temple committee, and whoever in charge for the Minister of Natural Resources or whoever it is, let them handle through ADR. The rest of them don't comment. The layman is very heartening to read all these
Yes.
negative things. There's
Very
nothing
negative.
it has nothing to do with any race or any religion. But without knowing the basis of it, they are passing all kind of remarks. So I think those who are listening to this, my humble request, please stop.
Yeah, definitely. It is.
Yeah.
It's damaging
Yeah.
for the country.
Yeah,
It's damaging for the people.
No, let me tell you something. Whoever making this comment, please stop it. Because I'm telling you, as I always tell you, this is to do with public order and security. And every comments are being watched.
Yeah.
Even those who are saying that I can get away because I'm from this sector or whatever, I tell you, when it comes to breach of law, especially public order and security, you will face it somehow. It can be very seditious, So stop doing it.
Definitely. I completely agree with you. Now, among the big questions in this case of the Sri Pathrakaliamman Temple is the sale of the land on which the temple resides on to JAKEL without the knowledge of the temple committee. Now, by law, if you are the landowner, in this case DBKL was the landowner, and you have granted approvals for a house of worship to continue residing on your land, to even renovate, despite that, do you owe them, legally, do you owe them a notice should you plan to sell that land? Notice, let me rephrase that. Do you owe them the courtesy or by legally the thing to inform them that the land is being sold and get their approval?
It's a policy matter. It's very sensitive to answer that. It's very sensitive. I don't want to touch into that. I have an answer for it, but I definitely don't want to touch on it. It's very sensitive. Okay. Let them. It's too late to discuss now. The land has been sold.
Exactly.
It has changed hand. You can't reverse unless this temple wants to buy from JAKEL. We don't know what's the price. Even though I read from newspaper, JAKEL said they will subsidize or absorb the relocations cost or whatever.
Yes.
But from the way that the temple committees are doing, they don't want to move elsewhere. They want to remain where they are. So on that basis, or rather on that reason, I would say that it's too late for us to talk about. You should have given to them or what? Because I don't want to touch on that issues because it's willing seller, willing buyer.
No, but I understand that. But I'm saying that should there have been? Should they have been made aware that the land was going to be sold?
On a humanitarian ground, yes. Why not?
But from a legal standpoint,
not necessarily.
really?
Yeah. Because the land was not given.
You're joking,
under,
really?
Seriously, the land was not given under to them by any form of alienations or reservations. Not even a TO land, temporary occupation.
Okay.
Temporary occupation license. Nothing been given. Okay, nothing can be given. So then there's no interest registered in the land, no encumbrances, no registered in the land. So when JAKEL offered whatever price, the negotiation have taken place. So it's a purely a commercial transactions. When I'm getting a very good or lucrative offer from these people, I would just grab it. After all, it's revenue for DBKL. So I'm not going to give it to you.
No, but yeah, of course.
I'm not going to offer you because I already got some good offer.
No, I understand that, but I'm just
You are
shocked.
saying being the existing occupier of the
Yeah,
land,
yeah.
isn't it they have an obligation
Correct.
to offer them first?
No, not to offer them, to at least inform them, because that was the big thing. I think at the Lawyers for Liberty press con, one of the temple committee said that he was shocked to hear that there was a groundbreaking ceremony going to take place. He didn't know. So the option is not that to give them the first right of refusal or buying or whatever, but is that if they have been occupying that land for over 100 years, and DBKL has granted them permits to renovate, electricity, water, and all this, and they are situated right across JAKEL Mall. That means JAKEL would have known that the temple is there. DBKL, of course, knows the temple is there. When DBKL was initiating the sale to JAKEL, did they have a right, a legal obligation to inform the temple, look, we are considering selling this land? That's all. Not to...
No, not until the land being developed.
Really?
Seriously.
I cannot believe this.
Yeah. Okay.
So until the land is being developed, that's the only time
When
that...
the development order, they will erect or construct a signage to saying that we're going to build this. Anyone got any objections? Submit your objection. Until then, nobody knows. You can sell it and you conceal it. You're talking about concealment.
No, I'm telling that. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that should the temple committee have been informed that the land was about to be sold?
Policy matters.
You're pleading the fifth. Okay, fair enough. After the land sale, and this was what I read in the news, after the sale of the land, I think at one point the temple received a 2 weeks notice for them to vacate. Now, legally, is 2 weeks an appropriate timeline to give a temple to vacate?
No, I think that's within the town council's requirement. Beside this, what they call National Land Code, they have other legislations. Local governments, and the Local Government Act, 1976, probably the notices were given through the subsidiary legislation, the 2 weeks period. So I think that's appropriate because at the moment, whoever occupying the land, it's considered occupying the land without legal rights. So the notice, you may think how to relocate a temple with a structure. All the statue, deities, how are we going to relocate elsewhere within 2 weeks? It's impossible. But I think the town council is not that draconian. It's just a notice, initial notice. But you see now it's been altered. I think thanks to the mayor of KL mayor, she went to the ground.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. It was a genuine gesture by her to the temple chairman. I can see that. But let's see what and where this thing can go and how it's going to be resolved.
Interesting you talk about that because I think at the very beginning, the Federal Territory Minister, she went on the ground and then she was saying that in a press conference, she said that an alternative plot has been identified by DBKL to relocate the temple. Now, I'm just curious, in what circumstance does a town council, in this case DBKL, or someone residing on their land, forget about the fact that it's sold, on their land, an alternative plot to relocate to? Or does it owe that at all?
Definitely. That you see, those people in KL, the inhabitants here, the town council have some obligations, social obligations, socio-political obligations to relocate elsewhere. This is the need of your residents, and they are the residents of KL city. How are you going to neglect them? And remember this, everybody is equal, regardless whatever it is. We have Article 8 of Federal Constitution says that everybody is equal. So she, in the given situation, to ease the situation and also to have, I don't know whether to say it's on a humanitarian ground or empathy, she gracefully have said to relocate elsewhere. I think we should accept a first move. Whether the temple going to be relocated elsewhere or not, let the temple to decide, and whoever in charge of the issue. I'm not going to go into it.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate I only focus on the
good
mayor, the KL mayor. She went on the ground to address the issue. But I think you're asking me what obligation. Isn't it you're supposed to handle this to your residents, whatever it happens? Because it's a departmental responsibility.
Okay. Now, when a temple receives such an allocation, or they said that they have found an alternative plot for you to go to relocate, can a temple deny this, or can they deny this and say, no, I do not want to go there?
Do you have a choice?
They have a choice.
Do you have a choice? No, I don't think so. Because the temple current place where it's sitting is situated, it's been sold. It's been sold. We can't challenge the transaction, the dealing. The title is, it cannot be defeated.
But that's the interesting thing, though. I mean, you keep saying that that sale cannot be defeated or challenged, right? But
because it's done on an arm's length, bona fide, in good faith, with no notice. You see, there's no previous owner of the land for to say that it's tainted with fraud. We have Section 340 in divisibility of title, but here it doesn't have that kind of issues because the land doesn't have a previous owner, private owner, except for DBKL. So there's no fraud here.
Doesn't the fact that it has been there pre-Merdeka, doesn't that weigh? Because if I wanted to buy a land, for example, I would have people to survey the land first. You will have to survey the whole land physically. And that's when you know, oh, there's a temple here, temple structure here, and it's been here more than 100 over years. Without them knowing, can you sell that land?
Again, I said it's policy matters. You don't understand. That's a policy matter. The pre-Merdeka and post-Merdeka, there's two sets of rules, You have to understand pre-Merdeka, the British were ruling then.
Yes.
Okay, they encouraged, a worship house being built. And you can see a lot of churches in town, like we got St. John's Church in town, out of the town. And we got Mariamman Temple in Jalan Banda. It's all from those period. Okay? So the pre-Merdeka wasn't that stringent. After post-Merdeka, KL was subject to further development, urban development from 1972, strictly. So this is the first time that we are having a temple issue in a bigger scale. We have other temples issues in KL, a lot of places, but it's not as intense as this. Because you have to understand, there's also a change of political map. Those days was BN, now it's PH. It's a different scenario. I cannot say this, what's happening, what's going on. That's why I said this is purely a land issue, nothing to do with politics. Everybody, all the politicians coming down to show sympathy, empathy, want to get involved, to show that they're concerned about the community. All right? Well and good. But the problem is, as I told you, again, in urban development, in modern time, is it appropriate? Like what you're asking, after post-Merdeka, to go on to in these kind of things. We had enough already. We had enough temple. I'm not talking about this temple in Masjid India, Pathrakaliamman or whatever. But you ask for yourself, we have enough worshipping. And what happens was as and when people they come up with a small structure and it rise to a bigger structure later part, but without having legal rights to the land. So are you going to say that the town council going to allow this? I'm not talking about Pathrakaliamman. I'm talking about what I'm seeing everywhere. And when there's a dispute within the temple, then they lodge a complaint to a registrar of societies, because the temple management must be registered. The temple itself has to be registered, because the temple management is with, I don't know whether Hindu Sangam or I don't know about that.
I think it's ROS, I think.
ROS, yes. Because once you have a management, the committee must be registered. The society must be registered. So then they can complain to, this temple got no title and all that. That's where the problems start brewing. And goes to, in this case, in what we are talking about, the Pathrakaliamman, it's not about that. It's about the land where this temple is occupying, situated, being sold to another owner, to another person who become an owner since 2012 or 2014. And no notice been given to the temple until the recent event. Why that lacuna, why that act happened? How did this happen? I'm going back to
Exactly.
you
Yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah.
You ask, is there an obligation going back to here to notify them? At least give them a notice. What if the notice been given? We wouldn't have faced all this problem because the temple probably, through their own means, would have gone into fundraising to acquire the land. All right. So it's
understand.
it's very difficult to say what went wrong. Then just check who are those people sitting in DBKL at that time, 2014, who was sitting for all these, in the committee for this sort of transactions. They just close their eyes, it lapsed their mind, it's
Up
going
to investigations,
up to
yeah.
investigations.
Let's talk about JAKEL. What is your opinion of JAKEL in all of this?
They are innocent.
They're just
They
a
are
willing
innocent.
buyer.
They are innocent. They are innocent. They're not got nothing to do. We see, if they want to commercially, they want to acquire. It's their commercial tactics how they want to buy. It's their mean. Okay, they can afford probably this if they're going to build a mosque. I'm looking at CSR. Probably they want to do a CSR. They have a very big what do you call mall opposite that land, and they have all these small places. So probably it's part of the CSR. I'm not belittling the temple is not a part of CSR. I've seen a lot of people going to the temple early morning before going to work. Those Hindus are working in that area. They go to the place for a morning prayer and all that. So it's a very thin line issues to be discussed. Not going into any other issues, but let we take this opportunity here to discuss how they want to resolve this. I think the idea is the land has been sold to JAKEL. JAKEL not going to give back
Of course not.
unless somebody is going to plead to them, give back, please give back to them. They been there earlier than you. This one, somebody who's an authority must tell that to them. But this one, I don't want to go into that factor because it involves a religious aspect. And I come from, certain school where I learn all this. So, but it's very difficult to actually address the situation. Most, if it's given a relocations, gracefully should be taken. But if they don't want to take it, then challenge in court. Get an injunction for the time being. Get them not to, do the groundbreaking or whatever. Get injunction. Put it for, kind of mandamus applications under the specific relief, provisions. Ask the DBKL to rescind the sale which has taken place in 2014. Rescind the contract with JAKEL and sell it to the temple. Can they compel? If really that's the legal avenue available for the temple. Let's think about it.
They can do that,
Yeah.
even though the land has already been sold to JAKEL.
Yeah. Do it. Let the High Court decide. Because they have acquiescence. Don't forget. If you go back to 1894, then it's already like 100 years. 1994, 100 years, heritage. So the customary law can prevail. We recognize. This country legal system recognize customary law.
But I think I wouldn't want that to happen for just one reason. Even if it does happen, it has to happen maybe 10 years down the road. It cannot happen now. Because of the way the conversations are taking place online and social media, things are too hot now.
Intense.
It's very intense. It's very saddening as a Malaysian to see this, and it's very. In fact, I was talking to someone. I said it's amazing how in the past few months we have forgotten ourselves. We've forgotten how to be kind, considerate. We've all become racially charged animals and just saying whatever we want to say, without a care for the social fabric and all that.
Exactly.
Which, when you see all these comments and the way people are just, attacking each other, how does that make you feel?
It mixed feeling, huh? It is a mixed feeling. You have anger, anguish.
Who are you angry with?
Those people who are passing the comments, both sides.
Yeah.
Both sides, not knowing. This is not a racial issue. This is not a racial issue. You don't know anything, and you are just jumping from seeing a video or reels, and you start telling this. You call it by color, all those things. I don't think so. It's appropriate. I think whoever in charge of this matter, please catch them, and then let them face the legal consequences. I encourage that, please. Even here, I'm very cautious not to say anything. I'm very, very cautious.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I don't want to offend the temple people, my own people, which is, the religion that I'm a Hindu. I profess that religion. I don't want to offend my people. I don't want to offend the Malays who are my good friends. I come from university where I learn Islamic law as well. I come from. I don't want to offend. I don't want to offend them as well. Now I come. My postgrad is from University of Malaya as well. So I don't want to offend them. In our classroom, we don't see racism at all. We are so united. I got friends who still even family problem, we share with them, with the Malay friends. And here you have someone who's passing all this. It's really hurting,
It is very hurting.
I go overseas, I don't say I'm so and so. I'm saying, hey, saya orang Malaysia tau. When there's not knowing that I'm from Malaysia, a Malaysian who sees me overseas speaks to me with an alien language. Hey, saya orang Malaysia tau. Oh, ya ke? Orang Malaysia? Hey, mana? So when all these remarks being said, take this, like what I said, kita orang Malaysia ni, take that into your consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't say. I was very upset when somebody said, if you're not going to answer me, you know what the consequences are. I think stop doing that. I think this is my request from the authorities. Something must be said very hard. Yeah, we are watching you.
Somebody must be made an example of.
Yes.
By the authorities.
Yes.
No,
regardless which camp they are from.
Yeah.
Then they will stop it.
Yeah,
they will stop it. In the past, those people has been fined and all those things. Okay, and same goes to those who are wants to protect the temple or whatever. Indirectly, they may not be coming from the area. Also, don't say I want to do this. No, and don't straight away take your handphone and out of emotions you send a message or whatever. Ponder for a moment.
The thing about it is, I think people are so attracted to drama that the incentive to post a negative video, whether you're a politician or you're a community leader, is much greater than doing the right thing, which is sometimes just because you can say doesn't mean you should say. And can say doesn't mean it's a very difficult time for me as well now, because I'm very affected by this. I'm very affected by this. I'm very affected. Yeah. So thanks, Mr. Bala, for coming on. I always love having you on. You are our legal expert on the Show podcast. Yeah. So thank you again, buddy. Thank you so much. Yeah. So guys, the purpose of this podcast, in fact, we had a late night call. We were discussing about this topic, and the objective of this podcast, why I wanted to host Mr. Bala on, is bring him on and talk this to affirm, to basically drive the point home that this is a legal matter and nothing else. And of course, the authorities, I think I commend JAKEL with how they are dealing with it. I think you've watched the press con. They're doing it in a very amicable way. I think DBKL is also trying their best to do it in the best that they can. I don't think we can... I think any other of those issues that have been brought about from the past, I think that's in the past. I think let's leave it to the authorities to do what they are supposed to do, while we as Malaysians preserve our way of life. I think that is my biggest concern. I worry for the future of this country with the way things are going, with the racial issues that keep coming up. It's a dangerous time, and I hope we all just calm down. And as I said in another video that I did, that this is the time where sensationalism trumps sense. And I think we need to go back to having a little bit of common sense and remember that this is Malaysia, this is our land, and for it to prosper, we need to be peaceful, we need to live harmoniously together as we were before. So let's stop this and leave it to the law to deal with this matter. So thank you so much, Bala.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, guys. So that's all we have for you today. Next interview will be with another lawyer, Ms. Siti Kasim. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you all soon. As always, guys, stay safe. Love Malaysia. Take care. Bye.